Welcome, viewers, to a gripping journey through the annals of crime and justice. Today, we're diving into the intriguing world of the top 10 most shocking and monumental arrests in history. From ruthless drug lords to legendary gangsters and whistleblowers who rocked the world, these arrests have left an indelible mark on society. Join us as we uncover the stories behind these gripping takedowns, unravel the mysteries, and explore the consequences that shaped the course of history. But before we begin, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, so you never miss out on our captivating explorations. Let's get started. In the annals of crime history, few figures loom as large and menacing as Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. The name Pablo Escobar is synonymous with the rise and fall of one of the world's most powerful and ruthless drug cartels. Born on December 1, 1949, in Rio Negro, Colombia, Escobar would go on to become the undisputed kingpin of the Medellin cartel, amassing unimaginable wealth through the production and distribution of cocaine. However, it was his dramatic arrest and subsequent downfall that would forever change the landscape of the global drug trade. Pablo Escobar's journey to infamy began in the late 1970s when he and his associates, including his cousin Gustavo Gaviria and José Gonzalo Rodríguez Gacha, recognized the lucrative potential of cocaine. At the time, cocaine was still a relatively obscure drug, but Escobar and his partners saw it as a goldmine waiting to be exploited. They seized control of the production process, refining coca paste into pure cocaine, and began exporting it to the United States, primarily through Florida. By the early 1980s, the Medellin cartel, led by Escobar, dominated the cocaine trade, flooding American streets with their product. The cartel's influence and wealth grew at an astonishing rate, with Escobar reportedly earning over $60 million per day at the peak of his power. To protect his empire, Escobar orchestrated a reign of terror, ordering the assassinations of countless rivals, law enforcement officials, judges, and even politicians who dared to oppose him. Escobar's brazen actions did not go unnoticed. The U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, and Colombian authorities launched an intense manhunt to bring him to justice. As the pressure mounted, Escobar's attempts to evade capture became increasingly audacious. He famously surrendered himself to Colombian authorities in 1991 under the condition that he would build his own prison, known as La Catedral, and dictate the terms of his imprisonment. It was a move designed to protect himself from extradition to the United States, where he faced numerous charges. However, Escobar's self-imposed exile was short-lived. The Colombian government, under mounting pressure from the United States, sought to regain control over the drug lord. In 1992, they stormed La Catedral, forcing Escobar to go on the run. What followed was a dramatic and often surreal game of cat and mouse. For 16 months, Escobar managed to elude authorities, hiding in various safe houses throughout Colombia. His ability to evade capture was a testament to his cunning and the loyalty of his associates. He continued to orchestrate violence and bombings, even as he remained a fugitive. The hunt for Escobar culminated on December 2, 1993, in the city of Medellin. Acting on intelligence provided by the DEA and Colombian authorities, a special police unit located the drug lord in a modest safe house. In a firefight, Pablo Escobar was shot and killed, marking the end of an era in the global drug trade. The impact of Pablo Escobar's arrest and death was profound. While it dealt a significant blow to the Medellin cartel, it did not eradicate the drug trade. Other cartels and traffickers would rise to take its place, and the drug war would continue. However, Escobar's story serves as a cautionary tale of the consequences of unbridled ambition and the ruthless pursuit of power. Today, more than 2 decades after his death, Pablo Escobar remains a complex and controversial figure. Some in Colombia still view him as a folk hero, while others remember the violence and suffering he inflicted on their country. His life and legacy continue to be the subject of books, films, and television series, ensuring that the name Pablo Escobar will forever be synonymous with the dark underbelly of the drug trade. Joaquin Archibaldo Guzman Lara, better known as El Chapo, is a name that strikes fear and fascination into the hearts of many. As the head of the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most powerful drug trafficking organizations in the world, El Chapo's life has been a roller coaster of audacious escapes, arrests, and criminal exploits. In this narrative, we delve into the multiple arrests of the man who would become Mexico's most infamous drug lord. El Chapo was born on April 4, 1957, in La Tuna, a small village in the rugged Sierra Madre Mountains of Mexico. He came from humble beginnings but had ambitions that far exceeded the confines of his impoverished upbringing. By the late 1970s, he was deeply involved in the drug trade, smuggling marijuana across the US-Mexico border. El Chapo's criminal empire began to take shape in the 1980s when he transitioned from marijuana to the more lucrative cocaine trade. His rise to power, however, attracted the attention of Mexican and U.S. authorities. In June 1993, he was arrested in Guatemala and extradited to Mexico. While imprisoned, El Chapo continued to manage his drug empire from behind bars. His influence grew, and so did his reputation for escaping captivity. In January 2001, he made his first dramatic escape, allegedly hiding in a laundry cart and slipping out of the maximum security prison in Puente Grande, Jalisco. For more than a decade, El Chapo remained at large, continuing his drug trafficking operations while taunting law enforcement and the Mexican government. His freedom came to an end in February 2014 when he was captured in the beach resort town of Mazatlan, Mexico. This time, authorities were determined to prevent another escape. El Chapo was incarcerated in the Altiplano prison, one of Mexico's most secure facilities. Yet, his reputation for slipping through the tightest of security measures persisted. In July 2015, just 17 months after his arrest, El Chapo made a jaw-dropping escape from the Altiplano prison. He managed to crawl through a tunnel that led to a construction site more than a mile away. The audacity of this escape stunned the world and further solidified his status as a master of evasion. El Chapo's freedom was short-lived. In January 2016, he was captured again by Mexican authorities in the coastal city of Los Mochis, Sinaloa. His capture was the result of a massive manhunt, assisted by intelligence from the United States. Facing extradition to the United States, where he faced multiple charges, including drug trafficking and organized crime, El Chapo was transferred to U.S. custody in January 2017. His extradition marked the end of an era in Mexican drug trafficking. In February 2019, El Chapo was found guilty on all counts in a high-profile trial in the United States. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years, without the possibility of parole. The trial revealed shocking details of his criminal activities, including murders, bribery, and escapes. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's story is one of unparalleled audacity and criminal genius. His ability to repeatedly escape from the clutches of justice and his ability to run a multi-billion-dollar criminal empire have left an indelible mark on the world of organized crime. While his reign as a free man is over, the legend of El Chapo lives on. His life and multiple arrests serve as a cautionary tale of the challenges and complexities law enforcement agencies face when dealing with such a formidable and elusive figure in the world of international drug trafficking. In the annals of American crime history, few names loom larger than that of Al Capone. The notorious gangster, also known as Scarface, was a central figure in Chicago's criminal underworld during the Prohibition era. However, it wasn't his ruthless reign of organized crime that led to his eventual downfall, it was something far less expected: tax evasion. Al Capone was born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1899 and rose to infamy during the era of Prohibition, which lasted from 1920 to 1933. This period saw the illegal production and distribution of alcohol flourish across the United States, and Capone capitalized on it, becoming the leader of the Chicago Outfit, a powerful and ruthless criminal organization. Under Capone's leadership, the Chicago Outfit controlled speakeasies, gambling dens, brothels, and engaged in racketeering, extortion, and violence. Capone himself was implicated in numerous crimes, including bootlegging and multiple murders. Law enforcement struggled to bring him to justice, and he seemed untouchable. Despite Capone's well-documented criminal activities, it was ultimately his failure to pay income tax that led to his arrest and conviction. In 1931, U.S. Treasury agents, led by Eliot Ness, launched an investigation into Capone's finances. They discovered that, despite his extravagant lifestyle and vast wealth, Capone had never filed a legitimate income tax return. The case against Capone was meticulously built on charges of tax evasion. In October 1931, he was indicted on 22 counts of federal income tax evasion for the years 1925 to 1929. The trial, often dubbed the trial of the century, began in October 1931 in Chicago. Throughout the trial, the prosecution presented compelling evidence of Capone's income and assets, including hidden bank accounts and real estate holdings. Capone's flamboyant lifestyle and extravagant spending were also highlighted. Despite efforts to bribe or intimidate witnesses, Capone could not escape the mounting evidence against him. On October 17, 1931, after a 9-hour deliberation, the jury found Al Capone guilty on 5 counts of tax evasion. He was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison and fined $50,000, a significant sum at the time. Capone's reign as a crime kingpin had come to an end, not due to his violent crimes, but because of his failure to pay his taxes. Capone began serving his sentence at the U.S. Penitentiary in Atlanta and later transferred to Alcatraz, the infamous island prison. His health deteriorated due to syphilis, and he was released on parole in November 1939. Al Capone's arrest and conviction for tax evasion stand as a testament to the power of law enforcement and the justice system in bringing down even the most formidable criminals. While he is often remembered as a symbol of organized crime, it was his inability to evade the taxman that ultimately led to his downfall. The case against Capone set a precedent for using tax laws to prosecute criminal figures, and it remains an iconic moment in American legal history. The O.J. Simpson trial stands as one of the most infamous and gripping legal spectacles in American history. It was a case that transcended the courtroom and gripped the nation's attention. At its core, it revolved around the arrest and trial of a former NFL star for the murders of his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ron Goldman. On the evening of June 12, 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were brutally murdered outside Nicole's Brentwood, Los Angeles, home. Both victims had been stabbed to death. Nicole was the ex-wife of O.J. Simpson, a former football superstar and actor. O.J. Simpson quickly became a person of interest in the murders. On June 17, 1994, as police were preparing to arrest him, Simpson fled in his white Ford Bronco, driven by his friend Al Cowlings. The slow-speed chase was broadcast live on national television, captivating millions of viewers. On June 17, 1994, O.J. Simpson was arrested and charged with the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The evidence against him included a bloody glove found at the crime scene, bloodstains in his Bronco, and a trail of blood leading from the crime scene to his home. DNA evidence further incriminated him. The trial began on January 24, 1995, and lasted for nearly 9 months. It featured a dream team of defense attorneys, including Johnnie Cochran, Robert Shapiro, and F. Lee Bailey, who employed a strategy that included raising doubts about the integrity of the evidence and accusing the LAPD of racism. The prosecution, led by Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden, presented a mountain of evidence against Simpson, including DNA analysis. The trial was marked by dramatic moments, including Simpson trying on the infamous bloody glove, which famously didn't seem to fit. On October 3, 1995, after only a few hours of deliberation, the jury found O.J. Simpson not guilty of the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The verdict stunned many and led to heated discussions and debates about race, celebrity, and the criminal justice system. O.J. Simpson's acquittal had far-reaching consequences. He remained a deeply polarizing figure, with many believing he had escaped justice. In 1997, he was found liable for the deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman in a civil trial and ordered to pay $33.5 million in damages to their families. Simpson's post-trial life included controversies, such as his involvement in the book If I Did It, which some saw as a hypothetical confession. In 2008, he was convicted of armed robbery and kidnapping in a separate case and served 9 years in prison. The O.J. Simpson trial remains a symbol of the complexities and flaws of the American legal system. It highlighted issues of race, privilege, and celebrity, and it continues to be the subject of books, documentaries, and discussions about justice in America. In the annals of history, Nelson Mandela's name shines as a symbol of unwavering determination and resilience in the face of adversity. His arrest and imprisonment for anti-apartheid activities in South Africa mark a pivotal chapter in the struggle for equality and justice. During the mid-20th century, South Africa was ensnared in the dark web of apartheid, a system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination. Under apartheid, the rights of black South Africans were systematically oppressed, and the apartheid regime held a stranglehold on power. Nelson Mandela, born in 1918, became increasingly involved in anti-apartheid activism during the 1940s. He joined the African National Congress, ANC, a political party that vehemently opposed apartheid and sought to end racial discrimination. On August 5, 1962, Mandela was arrested and subsequently charged with incitement to strike and leaving the country without a valid passport. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. However, this was just the beginning of Mandela's long and arduous journey. In 1964, while still serving his initial sentence, Mandela, along with several other ANC leaders, was charged with sabotage and other crimes in the infamous Rivonia trial. On June 12, 1964, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. Mandela was incarcerated on Robben Island, a desolate prison off the coast of Cape Town. Life on the island was grueling, marked by hard labor, harsh living conditions, and brutal treatment by prison authorities. As the years rolled on, Nelson Mandela's imprisonment became an international cause célèbre. The world rallied behind the call for his release, viewing him as a symbol of resistance against apartheid. Activists, governments, and artists joined the chorus of voices demanding his freedom. In the late 1980s, winds of change began to sweep across South Africa. International pressure, combined with internal struggles and negotiations, eventually led to a historic moment. On February 11, 1990, Nelson Mandela was released from Victor Verster prison, signaling a new era for South Africa. Mandela's release marked the beginning of a remarkable journey towards dismantling apartheid and establishing democracy in South Africa. His leadership and commitment to reconciliation became the cornerstone of the nation's healing process. In 1994, Nelson Mandela made history once more by becoming South Africa's first black president in the country's first democratic elections. He pursued a path of national unity and forgiveness, epitomizing the values of forgiveness and reconciliation. Nelson Mandela's legacy extends far beyond his presidency. He is celebrated as a global icon of peace, justice, and the enduring power of the human spirit. His story inspires generations to fight for justice, equality, and the dignity of all people. The arrest and imprisonment of Nelson Mandela were not just a chapter in his life, but a crucible that forged an unwavering commitment to justice and equality. His sacrifices and triumphs continue to illuminate the path towards a more just and equitable world. In the high-stakes world of finance, where fortunes are made and lost, few names evoke as much infamy as Bernie Madoff. The arrest of the Ponzi scheme mastermind sent shockwaves through the financial industry and left a trail of devastation in its wake. Bernard L. Madoff, a former Nasdaq chairman, was a respected figure on Wall Street. His investment firm, Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities LLC, seemed like a beacon of financial stability in an unpredictable world. For decades, Madoff's firm appeared to deliver consistent, above-average returns to its clients. Investors, both large and small, trusted him implicitly. However, beneath the surface, a house of cards was waiting to collapse. In December 2008, Bernie Madoff confessed to his sons that his investment business was a colossal fraud, a Ponzi scheme that had been ongoing for years. Investors had been paid returns not from actual profits, but from the investments of new clients. The entire operation was built on deceit. On December 11, 2008, Madoff was arrested by the FBI. The scale of his fraud was staggering. Thousands of investors, including celebrities, charities, and institutional investors, had lost billions of dollars. Madoff's arrest sent shockwaves through the financial world and raised profound questions about oversight and accountability. The fallout from Madoff's arrest was immense. Many investors faced financial ruin, charities lost their endowments, and individuals lost their life savings. The scandal prompted calls for increased regulation and oversight of the financial industry. In March 2009, Bernie Madoff pleaded guilty to 11 federal felonies, including securities fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering. In June 2009, he was sentenced to 150 years in federal prison, effectively a life sentence for the then 71-year-old. The Madoff scandal had a profound impact on trust within the financial industry. It shattered the belief that seemingly reputable financial institutions were immune to fraud and deception. Investors became more cautious, and regulators tightened their scrutiny. While many investors never fully recovered their losses, efforts were made to compensate victims through a court-appointed trustee. The Madoff case also served as a stark reminder of the importance of due diligence, skepticism, and transparency in financial dealings. The arrest and downfall of Bernie Madoff was a seismic event in the world of finance. His Ponzi scheme, one of the largest in history, left a legacy of financial ruin and a profound loss of trust. It serves as a stark cautionary tale of the dangers of blind faith in financial institutions and the importance of robust regulatory oversight. Saddam Hussein, the former president of Iraq, was one of the most notorious and brutal dictators in modern history. His capture and arrest, after months on the run, marked the end of an era for Iraq and the beginning of a new chapter in its history. Saddam Hussein ruled Iraq with an iron fist for over 2 decades. His regime was marked by widespread human rights abuses, political oppression, and brutal suppression of dissent. His actions led to the deaths of countless Iraqis in conflicts both within and beyond Iraq's borders. As the United States-led coalition launched Operation Iraqi Freedom in March 2003, Saddam's regime quickly crumbled. On April 9, 2003, American forces entered Baghdad, and the iconic images of Iraqis pulling down a statue of Saddam were broadcast worldwide. Despite the fall of his regime, Saddam Hussein managed to evade capture for months. He became a symbol of the insurgency against the coalition forces. Rumors and sightings of Saddam were reported across Iraq, but he remained elusive. Saddam's days on the run came to a dramatic end on December 13, 2003, when he was discovered hiding in a small underground bunker near his hometown of Tikrit. The location, often referred to as a spider hole, was a far cry from the lavish palaces he once inhabited. Saddam was arrested without incident, disheveled and seemingly resigned to his fate. The man who had once wielded absolute power in Iraq was now in the custody of U.S. forces. Saddam Hussein faced trial in Iraq for crimes against humanity, including the brutal suppression of the Kurdish uprising in the 1980s and the massacre of Shiite Muslims in the town of Dhu Jail in 1982. In November 2006, he was sentenced to death by hanging for his role in the Dhu Jail killings. Saddam's arrest and subsequent trial had a significant impact on Iraq's political landscape. It symbolized the end of an era of dictatorship and marked the beginning of efforts to establish a more democratic and accountable government in Iraq. While Saddam's capture brought a sense of closure to many Iraqis, it did not bring an end to the violence that continued to plague the country. Iraq faced years of instability, insurgency, and sectarian conflict. Saddam Hussein's capture and arrest remain a pivotal moment in the history of Iraq. It serves as a reminder of the consequences of authoritarian rule, the complexities of post-conflict justice, and the challenges of rebuilding a nation torn apart by decades of oppression and conflict. The capture and arrest of Saddam Hussein marked the end of his reign of terror in Iraq. It was a momentous event in the nation's history, symbolizing the hope for a more just and democratic future while also highlighting the long and difficult road to stability and reconciliation that lay ahead. Roman Polanski, the acclaimed film director, has not only left an indelible mark on the world of cinema but has also been a central figure in a deeply controversial legal case. His arrest for statutory rape has sparked debates about justice, fame, and the complexities of the legal system. Before the controversy, Polanski was celebrated for his filmmaking prowess. He directed classics like Rosemary's Baby and Chinatown and established himself as a prominent figure in Hollywood. In 1977, Polanski was arrested and charged with the statutory rape of a 13-year-old girl, Samantha Geimer. The incident occurred at the residence of actor Jack Nicholson. Polanski initially faced multiple charges, including rape by use of drugs, but he later pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of unlawful sexual intercourse. Polanski's guilty plea was part of a plea bargain agreement, which was supposed to result in a lenient sentence. However, fearing that the judge might impose a harsher penalty, Polanski fled the United States before his sentencing. Polanski's decision to flee the country turned him into a fugitive. For over 3 decades, he lived in exile, avoiding extradition attempts by U.S. authorities. During this time, he continued to work on films and received numerous accolades. Over the years, there have been several attempts to resolve Polanski's legal situation. Samantha Geimer, the victim, publicly forgave Polanski and expressed a desire for the case to be dismissed. However, legal complications and concerns about precedent-setting decisions have hindered efforts to reach a resolution. The legal case has cast a long shadow over Polanski's career. While he continued to make critically acclaimed films, including The Pianist, which won him an Academy Award, his inability to return to the United States limited his opportunities. The Polanski case has sparked intense debates about justice, accountability, and the role of fame in legal proceedings. Some argue that his status as a renowned filmmaker has shielded him from the consequences of his actions, while others believe that the victim's forgiveness should be respected. As of the present day, the legal case against Roman Polanski remains unresolved. Efforts to have the charges dropped or to secure his return to the United States continue to face legal and diplomatic challenges. Roman Polanski's arrest for statutory rape is a case that has captivated the public's attention for decades. It raises complex questions about the intersection of fame, justice, and the rights of victims. The case remains a subject of debate, and its ultimate resolution remains uncertain. Martha Stewart, the doyen of homemaking and lifestyle branding, found herself entangled in a scandal that sent shockwaves through the business and entertainment worlds. Her arrest and subsequent conviction for insider trading not only had legal ramifications but also impacted her reputation as a domestic guru. Before her legal troubles, Martha Stewart was an icon in the world of homemaking. She built a multimedia empire, including books, magazines, television shows, and a line of branded products. Her image was synonymous with elegant living and good taste. In December 2001, Stewart sold her shares of the biopharmaceutical company ImClone Systems, just one day before the FDA rejected ImClone's new drug application. This timely sale raised suspicions of insider trading. Stewart faced an investigation by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, and the Department of Justice, DOJ. During the investigation, it was revealed that she had received non-public information about ImClone's FDA troubles from her broker, Peter Bakanovic. In 2004, Martha Stewart was charged with securities fraud, obstruction of justice, and making false statements. She was accused of attempting to cover up her reasons for selling ImClone stock. In 2004, she was convicted on charges of conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and making false statements. Martha Stewart's conviction had a significant impact on her brand and business empire. Her media empire suffered as she was forced to resign from the board of her company, Martha Stewart Living Omni Media, and her television show, Martha Stewart Living, was put on hiatus during her 5-month prison sentence. Stewart began serving her sentence in October 2004, serving 5 months in federal prison in Alderson, West Virginia. Following her release, she served an additional 5 months of home confinement. After her time in prison, Martha Stewart focused on rebuilding her personal brand. She returned to television with The Martha Stewart Show and regained control of her company. She also expanded her brand into new ventures, including collaborations with brands like Macy's and Home Depot. Stewart's case highlighted the seriousness of insider trading and its legal consequences. It also underscored the importance of transparency in financial transactions and the need to avoid conflicts of interest. Martha Stewart's arrest and conviction for insider trading marked a significant chapter in her life and career. It demonstrated that no one, regardless of their status or reputation, is immune to the consequences of illegal financial activities. Stewart's ability to rebuild her brand and continue her career after serving her sentence showcases her resilience and determination. Edward Snowden, a former National Security Agency (NSA) contractor, became a household name when he exposed the U.S. government's massive surveillance programs. His decision to leak classified information and subsequent arrest sparked a global debate on privacy, security, and government transparency. Edward Joseph Snowden was born in 1983 in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. He came from a family with a background in government service, and he initially worked for various U.S. intelligence agencies. Snowden's journey as a whistleblower began in 2013 when he revealed classified documents to journalists Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras. These documents unveiled the extensive surveillance programs run by the NSA, including the collection of citizens' phone records and internet communications. The leaked documents exposed programs like PRISM and XKeyscore, which allowed the NSA to access vast amounts of private data. Snowden's disclosures triggered a global uproar over government surveillance, privacy invasion, and civil liberties. Fearing prosecution, Snowden fled to Hong Kong, where he continued to leak classified information to the press. His actions raised questions about international law, extradition, and the rights of whistleblowers. Snowden's leaks ignited a worldwide debate about the balance between national security and individual privacy. They led to legal challenges, changes in government policies, and increased public awareness of mass surveillance. In June 2013, the U.S. Department of Justice charged Snowden with theft, unauthorized communication of national defense information, and willful communication of classified intelligence to an unauthorized person. He sought asylum in several countries, eventually finding refuge in Russia, where he remains today. Snowden's revelations prompted tech companies to enhance encryption and protect user data from government intrusion. Additionally, they spurred legislative changes, such as the USA Freedom Act, which aimed to limit government surveillance. Snowden's actions sparked a moral debate. Was he a hero who exposed government overreach, or a traitor who jeopardized national security? Public opinion on Snowden remains divided. Edward Snowden's arrest and subsequent exile have made him a symbol of the fight for digital privacy and government transparency. His actions continue to influence discussions on surveillance, cybersecurity, and the ethics of whistleblowing. The arrest of Edward Snowden marked a turning point in the digital age, challenging governments, tech companies, and citizens to reconsider their stance on privacy and surveillance. Whether seen as a hero or a fugitive, Snowden's impact on the global conversation surrounding government transparency and digital privacy is undeniable. In a world filled with twists and turns, these arrests have left an indelible mark on history. From the criminal masterminds to those who took a stand, they remind us that justice knows no boundaries. If you find these arrests as shocking as we did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more captivating content, and share your thoughts on these arrests in the comments below. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the top 10 most shocking and big arrests in the world. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay tuned for more.